Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Confident Retirement Podcast, brought to you by LPF Advisors. I'm your host here, Chris Flaming. As always, joining me, my co-host and resident CFP, Colin, who will help us break it all down. Colin, what are we getting ourselves into today?
Yeah, we're getting to some fun stuff today, a very important topic, very overlooked as well, but we're going to talk about estate planning. So now, before people tune out and start thinking that this is something that only the super wealthy or the elderly need, stick with us. I promise estate planning is for everyone. But first, Chris, I got to go through the disclaimer. The information we provide is our opinion and not necessarily that of our firm or this platform. We provide general information only on the podcast and not any customized investment advice. Nothing should be construed as financial, tax, or legal advice. You should consult with your own professionals about your personal situation. Chris, before we start, so I just want to we'll start with a simple or important question for people. But if something was to happen to you, who would make medical decisions on your behalf? Who ensures that your loved ones are taken care of and your wishes are carried out the way that you want? That's where the estate planning comes in. Today, we'll cover the four essential documents that everyone, yes, I promise everyone should have in place: a will, a living will, a healthcare surrogate, and a power of attorney. So let's get into it. Chris, why don't you start with a will since it's something that everybody's probably heard of before?
Yes, the will is kind of the foundation of any estate plan. So, what a will is, it's a legal document that states how you want your assets, your home, your money, even your favorite baseball card collection, your jewelry, distributed after you pass away. Without a will, your assets are distributed according to state law of the state that you live in, which may or may not align with what your wishes are. Now, a will also allows you to name a guardian for minor children. This is really important for people who have minor children. Big deal if you're a parent with minors. So the last thing you want is a court to decide who would get your kids or who would raise your kids in case you passed away prematurely. So drafting a will doesn't have to be complicated. You can start with an online service, but if your situation is more complex, we do recommend generally that it's best to work with an attorney who specializes in estate planning.
The online helps, for the very basic, but we want to make sure we're talking to a professional with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does a living will differ from the concept that you just mentioned?
Yep. So unlike the traditional will, which takes effect after you pass away, a living will kick in while you're still alive, but unable to make medical decisions for yourself. So this document outlines your preferences for life-sustaining treatments like being on a ventilator, feeding tubes, or wanting to be resuscitated or not. So think of this as a guide for your loved ones and also for the doctors. Without a living will, your family may struggle to decide what's best for you. They could maybe have arguments or can't decide what the best course of action is. And that we don't want to have those disagreements in place, especially at such a tough time when you have to make a decision. So it's already stressful. We don't want it to be more stressful. The living will ensures that your wishes are honored, and it also removes the burden of tough decisions from your loved ones because it's very clear in the living will what you want to have done in each of those particular situations.
So, if we move on to the healthcare surrogate, why is that so important to people?
Yep. So if let's say if you were incapacitated, you were unconscious or unable to make a medical decision, but your situation isn't covered with a living, that's where the healthcare surrogate can come in, also known as a healthcare proxy. This document allows you to appoint someone, your spouse, a close friend, a trusted family member, to make medical decisions on your behalf. It's important to have a conversation with this person ahead of time if you name them, so then they understand what your values and wishes are and also what you expect of them. You don't want them guessing or being surprised that they're the healthcare surrogate, especially in a time of possible crisis.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going on to the POA or power of attorney, how does that work?
Yeah, the last one is the power of attorney. This document allows someone to handle your financial and legal matters if you become incapacitated, unconscious, unable to do those things. This could mean paying bills, managing investments, selling property if necessary. And what people need to understand here is without a power of attorney, your family might have to go through a lengthy court process to gain control over your finances. And this is something that you definitely don't want happening, especially if it's a time-sensitive situation. Plus, it costs money. And there are different types of power of attorney, including durable and limited, which we don't have time to get into today. But it's worth discussing with an estate professional to determine what's best for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. So those are the 4 essential estate planning documents: a will, a living will, a healthcare surrogate, and a power of attorney. I know we went at a 30,000 foot there just to give viewers a very basic idea of these concepts, but it's important to mention again that estate planning isn't just for the wealthy or the elderly. It's for anyone who wants to have a say in their future and to protect their loved ones. So if you haven't already, if you haven't started yet, take this as your sign to get your financial house in order, consult with an estate attorney, or explore online services to, start drafting these documents. But if any of our listeners have more questions about this or other financial topics, feel free to reach out to us on the interwebs at www.lpfadvisors.com and email us using info@lpfadvisors.com. So be sure to subscribe and share this episode if you found it helpful. Thanks for tuning into the Confident Retirement Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Take care and be well.
You've been listening to the Confident Retirement Podcast with Chris and Mark from LPF Advisors. For more information on them and retiring confidently, please visit lpfadvisors.com. If your ears are pleased and your mind is now at ease, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.